Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you all very much for coming in this morning. My name is Siva Audi, and this session, of course, is the impacts of climate change on poor women. It will be my pleasure to moderate this session. We have a very esteemed panel here with us today to discuss this matter over the next 90 minutes, and hopefully we will come up with some concrete ideas to send up to Copenhagen, hopefully in December. That's what we're aiming for, right? Of course, during the course of the session, we will all have a chance. I hope that you will participate as well in the session. We will give each one of our panelists some 5 minutes to start off and give us their main idea, their main message. And after that, we will open this to discussion around the room. Now, every time we see footage, whether it is on television or pictures, in the papers, they seem to be pictures or footage of women. When we, of course, I'm referring to footage of impoverished areas or areas that need or that are affected by climate change, etc. Well, maybe not always, maybe 9 out of 10 times, they're pictures of women. So I'm asking myself, where are the men? Where are the men? What do they do? The women are the farmers. The women are the ones who walk the 15 kilometers to find the water, to collect the wood fire. They feed, they nurture the children. What do the men do in those societies, in those communities? I know this is a very simplistic way of looking at a very big problem. Forgive me, but it is a valid question for an outsider like me, for an observer like me. Women now. I can overload you with numbers and figures, of course, about how they are the farmers, what they do for their societies and communities, but I will leave that to be discussed, of course, amongst our panelists here. Allow me, first of all, to introduce you to our panelists. I'll start with Her Royal Highness. Sorry, I'll just go to this piece of paper now so I don't get anything wrong. Her Royal Highness Princess Haya bint Hussein, who is UN Messenger of Peace and Chairperson of International Humanitarian City. Also on this panel, I'll start from here now, Malini Mehra is the founder and CEO of Center for Social Markets in India. Barbara Stocking is Chief Executive of Oxfam GB. And MS Swaminathan is Chairman of MS Swaminathan Research Foundation. And last but not least, she's not on your program, but we're very pleased to have you with us, Ms. Sherry Arieti, Minister Designate for Environment, Science and Technology of Ghana. So, how can we help poor women help themselves without overburdening them? Can women really play a role in adapting and mitigating climate change? Empowering and enabling women is necessary to combat climate change. They are the most vulnerable and they are the weakest politically. But are they victims or are they agents of change? What do you think, Your Highness?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Siba, for such a wonderful introduction. It's wonderful to see here that we have so many supportive women, but also so many supportive men. This, as you said, is a very, very important subject. We had so much discussion yesterday of numbers and whether to use them or not, but I think what underlined the whole discussion yesterday was the fact that we can keep this simple. For me, there are 3 very simple solutions, and the most important thing to underline is the timing, that in this issue, in climate change, it's now. It's something that has to be done. We have to move towards Copenhagen to find a solution, and commitment is one of the most important things in that. Women, without mentioning numbers again, women do represent 70% of the solution, if you will, and I do think that they will be huge agents for change. Not because of the arguments that we're talking about in climate change, but because we have already proven vehicles that most of the UN agencies already use for solutions in poverty areas. The World Food Programme targets women in school feeding, they target the children, and that component, solving that component of society in a way closes the circle and we get out of it. Now we do need to look at women as part of the solution and use them as agents to change. Specifically, I think in that argument that we do need to say that climate change is top of our agenda, but at the same time, it's doing no more than we should be doing anyway. I mean, these are commitments we've already underlined in the MDGs. We've underlined them in solutions that we've found, and now we do have an opportunity to really, drive that through. But the timing, the fact that it's now, is one of the most important things.
But to what exchange is bringing along the change a gender issue? To what exchange is it really the push needs to be done towards enabling women?
I think it's quite important, the fact that, both genders and our children own this planet. I think that the discussion of climate shouldn't be driven towards a gender monologue, if you will. I think it's another overwhelming argument about why we need to solve this now. And the fact that this huge segment, because it is women who can be such a large part of the solution through proven methods, if you will, through methods that the UN agencies, Oxfam, all of us already know. That just goes to prove that it is a solution that we can use.
Ms. Arieti, you seem to think that it is definitely a women's issue. It's a gender issue.
Yes, I think that it's a gender issue because women are carriers of generation, and women form the largest population of the world. And I think that apart from being agents of change, they are also victims of political decisions. And women are involved in agriculture, and they are the bedrock of households. So if climate change issues are not addressed positively, then it means that you undermine a whole generation and an economy. So we believe that women must be allowed to tell their own story. I mean, what is happening is that people are telling their story. And in Ghana, in October, we are inviting women across, the nation to come and tell us what they feel. I mean, walking for miles, to look for water, because the reality is there. All the water bodies, are dried up, through no fault of theirs. And they have to wake up in the morning to look for water, to take care of the children, and sometimes it affects children's education. So I think that we should look at it as a gender issue and then solve that problem.
Barbara, do you think, why do you think that more attention should be paid for women if we are to solve the long-term consequences of climate change?
Well, I think, particularly as the Minister has just said, climate affects men and women in different ways because of what they're doing in their lives differently. And you've illustrated, I think, very well some of the issues for women. In particular, that they are very close to, if you like, the natural resources. They're the ones who are collecting the water, collecting the fuel. They're also looking after their children. In sub-Saharan Africa, they're 70% of the farmers, so they're going to be very deeply affected by droughts and floods and so on. So again, you need to look at both the effects of climate change on men and women and their different roles. Now, I think the big question and problem is that if we're not very careful, women will, as you said in your introduction, turn out to be the people who bear the burden of climate change. They'll be the ones who have to do more, walk further to the water or the firewood or whatever, or looking after their children in disasters and so on. So if we're not very careful, women will get more burdened than they already are through climate change. Now, it's not that women are just victims. It's very clear that women are already adapting to climate change and doing things. And sadly, we can't show this video this morning. We'd hoped to have the Sisters on the Planet video shown, but you should all have a copy of this. And basically in it, there's a DVD which has the stories of 4 women across the world. And we were going to show the Bangladesh woman, Sahina. And she's an example of a woman who is now running her disaster risk reduction committee and work in their own community. And it just shows how women are taking charge and really becoming much more powerful in doing some of the things that are needed around climate change. And in other countries too, demanding, for example, I heard in Uganda about women demanding that boreholes were drilled